What's up, my strong men and strong women? Thank you for joining me on today's video where we're going to talk about how the environment can either supercharge you for success and your gains or be a detriment and something that holds you back from getting what you want in your life. Before we get started, my name is Steve Coyne. Please do me a favor and hit the like button, click subscribe to the channel where we'll be posting content on all things getting swole in the mind, body, and soul. Okay, so when we're talking about the environment, this is mostly things that are in your external surroundings, right? So, all of those sensory inputs that you're getting, but it's always filtered through what's going on between the ears. It's always really determined by how you frame the situation, how you think about it, and also what you do with it. Okay, now a lot of this can be conscious or subconscious. We can be affected by these things even though we're not really thinking about them. So that's really what kind of this video is about today, is what are all of these factors, even the ones we're not aware of, and how are they impacting us? And ultimately, what are we gonna do about it? So let's kind of start with a pretty obvious one, and that is people. The people in your environment and that you spend your time around are gonna be a huge force on who you are as a person. One of my mentors growing up used to say, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. I find that to be pretty true. Louis Simmons also says, if you walk with the lame, you'll develop a limp, right? So I've also heard it as, if you hang around a crack house all the time as a sober person, you won't be sober for too long. Think about that however you want, but let's frame it in real terms. We all have met those people in our lives described as an energy vampire, right? So what is that? That's somebody that always has something going wrong. They're always exhausted. They're always finding something to complain about, and they literally suck your energy out from you. So if you're somebody that wants to feel good, have a happy and healthy lifestyle, and be full of energy, you're not going to want to spend your time around these people. So when you're considering what you want, what your dream lifestyle is, what type of people can be in your environment to support that journey, right? Now, oftentimes this is difficult because there's some of those that are closest to us, even our family members, that can be unsupportive of what we truly want. I have trained a lot of fat loss clients whose own families have been the biggest barrier to their success. They make the choices to be healthier, eat better, work out, but the rest of their family is all larger. They're all obese. They all have habits and traditions of, lots of snacks, sugary drinks, things like that. And it's hard to overcome that, both in the sense of, sometimes it's peer pressure where your family wants you to be like them. They want to keep things the same because that's how it's always been, but it's hard being different. So you're going to have to figure out, if that's you, what choices do you need to make in advance to overcome or remove yourself from that environment. So if that's you with that family that doesn't support what you want for your fitness goals, maybe you could figure out portion controls if your family's always having huge, large, high calorie, less nutritious meals for dinner. Plan ahead and meal prep. Okay. And, ultimately the choice is always yours. If you can get out of the situation entirely, do it if that's what you have to do. So we want to think about how we can be around people we would call our tribe that are supportive and on the same mission as us. If you've ever had a great workout partner, you know that type of person is really going to help you have a better session. It just changes the environment that you're around. If you're somebody that wants to train real seriously and real hard, going to somewhere like Planet Fitness is not really going to be conducive to your success. Now, again, sometimes we don't really have an option in the moment, but you need to be conscious of, if you really want to achieve this goal of being as strong as you possibly can, you're not going to want to continually show up to that environment that's not supporting you with the equipment, but also the people that you need to be around. So here's some things you can do to get around that. One, as often as possible, get out into events where that type of person and those people will be. So if you're an athlete, that's very easy because there are competitions happening pretty frequently that will be in the energy that you want to be around. So even if you're not competing that day, let's say for me as a strongman athlete, I like to go to competitions as a judge, a volunteer, a spectator, a coach. It doesn't matter. I know that if I'm going to those things, I always leave feeling better about what I'm doing and what I'm getting out there for. It doesn't even have to be competitions. It could be taking a road trip to do a nice training session with a big group of other people that are all training for an upcoming competition, different competitions. Even if you're just in the area with those other strongmen or those other people working hard, you're gonna be positively impacted. So if you're somebody that's out in the sticks or there's not any of these environments around you, remember, this is not just about fitness, it's about anything else you want to achieve. You can also just make some friends and communities online. That's probably one of the best things about all the technology and social media that we have today, is that you can make friends that are on this same mission as you, that are on the other side of the planet. I talk to people that are literally on the other side of the world in Australia that are wanting to get stronger like me, that are doing a lot of the same things. And that helps me, again, just feel better about what I'm doing. So I don't always have that group of strongmen in my immediate environment, but I can talk to people online. There's online communities, and I can go out of my way to go to different gyms and different competitions. So I get as much exposure to this supportive group on the same mission as me as often as possible, right? So moving on, we're going to go into the climate. This is really just about temperatures, light, and what you're breathing in and out. So think about, once again, a lot of this comes down to how prepared are you? What's your mindset? How do you frame it? And how do you manage it? So heat and cold can have both positive and negative effects. This again is not physical. This is about everything going on mentally and spiritually as well. I'm in the middle of Florida summer. It is super hot. There are some benefits to that though. You warm up quicker. You have nice loose muscles that get you into good positions for lifting and strength. However, drenched in sweat by the time I even, and by the time I'm warming up, before I even get into my full workout, I can be soaked. Now, I just have to plan ahead to mitigate that, to be hydrated, have electrolytes, have a towel. Sometimes I have to have multiple changes of clothes for a single workout. It is what it is. So too much heat, if I'm staying soaked in that clothing, if I'm not hydrating, if I'm not fueled properly, becomes an absolute detriment real quick. I become exhausted. I can't get through a workout. That heat that made me loose, that goes to an extreme where now I'm so dehydrated and worn out that I'm risking injury by continuing to go on. So just plan ahead. It's also very mentally grueling sometimes when all those factors are at play. But I personally have always been good about framing the concept of, I'm in this intense condition. It is time for me to rise to the occasion, be tough, and carry on. I get a lot of personal, gusto and, enthusiasm for thinking, my competition is not in this. My competition is not in this intense environment. And therefore, it gives me an edge when I can carry on. So if I'm going into an environment that's in the AC, climate controlled, I'm going to have a much better time because I've gone through hell or high water just in my training. So pay off, right? This is the same with the cold, just on the other end. The cold, you're going to have a harder time getting warmed up. You might have to have many layers just to, be warm enough to have successful physical movement. Some people really like training in the cold though. It's a different type of intensity. I like to think about Rocky IV, the training montage where he goes off to Siberia to prepare to fight Ivan Drago. He's in a little cabin in Siberia, tons of snow. It's cold. He's climbing mountains and stuff, but that's what he needed to remove himself from everyday life and become this, mythical, whatever you need to call it, hero, to become the boxer that would beat this Superman Ivan Drago. So it's all about how you frame it. If you need to think like, this is what's going to do it for me, that really changes everything. So if you want to hear more about that, check out my video on the placebo effect and the power of belief, because how you frame all of this is really important. But let's keep going on to sun and light. So we all know the sun has healing benefits. So use that to your advantage. But this is once again something where it's only successful in the right balance, both physically and mentally, right? We've all had those days when we've been out in the sun for a vacation, beach day, work, whatever, for many, many hours, and we just feel like our brain is scrambled at the end of the day. It's also not going to be the time that we're going to be able to lift something to our heaviest. So if we want to be in like peak physical and mental performance, find that balance of how you can get that little bit of sunlight to charge you enough to be successful, but without draining you down. Once again, a lot of this comes down to fuel, nutrition, hydration. This is something to really practice. So in your day in, day out, in your regular routine, getting the right amount of sun can help set your circadian rhythm, which will help you sleep deeper, recover better, perform better, but it'll also boost your immune system by producing things like vitamin D in your body. There's really a lot of good there. So just remember though, in the right balance, this can be great and amazing, or it can be a huge, huge detriment, leave you tired and exhausted all the time. The choice is yours. Light and air. I want to talk really specifically about, artificial light and like that artificial high AC recycled air. You probably have spent some time inside like a big warehouse or an expo hall where you've got those big fluorescent lights and that artificial cycled air just coming in all day. Me personally, that makes me exhausted. I get that benefit from clean natural air and clean natural light. Those are the things, again, that supercharge me. This is not to say that that's all we should get, but being out in real air, even if you're out in the shade, avoiding the sun, is going to be much healthier, much better for you, and allow you to perform better, think better, and just live better in general. So just mitigate what you can. There's going to be times when you're going to be stuck in these environments, but if at all possible, get outside for just a little bit to charge up and then go back in if you have to. Now, some of this stuff can be also controlled by your movement. So if you're sitting down inside all day, like an expo hall, something like that, even getting up and moving your body can kind of break up the fatigue that some of these will bring you, right? So none of this is necessarily all positive or all negative. It is all about how you frame and view it and what do you do about it. The important thing is being aware that you're constantly being affected by these little signals from everywhere. So you just need to have some awareness, plan ahead, make good choices before, during, and after to get the most out of all of these things, right? So that's a good segue into your stimulus. Like I just said, you are always being affected by these little inputs in and out. So it's not just things like heat and cold or the light. It's also things like music and what's going on, for your auditory senses. We all know that there's a song or two for you, for all of us individually. When you put that on, it's time to get to work. It pumps us up. It makes us feel a certain way. If you're like me, you probably have like 20 songs like that can get you going, or like playlists full of them, right? So that is a clear example of how music can supercharge you. But I want you to think about what's going on when you're not in control of that, right? So little things can get your mood in different places, which is going to change how you view everything. It can make you sad. It can make you angry. It can just make you think about all these different things that you don't want. We're all talking, all of this stuff is once again about how do you become the person and live the life and get the goals that you want. If you want to be a happy, healthy person and you are constantly having rap music that glorifies violence, killing, drugs, always playing, those are things that are subconsciously going into your head. So you're going to start to see more and more and more of that if you do not realize that's what's going on. Now, there are things that can be mitigated, by using things such as like meditation and having routine quiet practice. You can constantly clear your mind of it, but just be aware with a good solid lifestyle, You're not going to have to clear the clutter out as much. So just be aware of what's going on, and when possible, get rid of the negative stimuli, right? Be aware of what those things can do to you. Things like colors can also impact you a lot. This is a reason why so many hardcore gyms are painted with red. Red has been scientifically proven to increase feelings of aggression. It's just like the bull with the matadors and the red flag charges at that. It might not excite us that much, but it is proven that colors can either make us more aggressive, like red, or like a light blue can calm us. So whatever you need to feel like in a moment, think about what that could be doing to you, right? If you're in a gym that's all light blue, you might be feeling a little somber or tranquil, and you might not really know why. It could be as simple as the music and the walls. So it is all about just being aware and considering what these things are doing. Very simple with the music. If you listen to sad or angry music all the time, they're going to slowly lead you to being sad and angry. Now, this is also how it works with visuals, posters, and media, right? So let's talk about media first. Easiest example is the news. The news is a product that wants you to be outraged. So dopamine can be incited by a whole lot of things, but outrage is one of them. So a lot of people get a lot of news in their day and they choose to consume that, or they don't even realize that that's just what they're getting inundated over and over with. And it's just dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And they're literally addicted to outrage. So when we frame this once again as what type of lifestyle do you want to live? What type of person do you need to be to achieve that? And what do you truly want out of your life for your goals? Is it somebody that's constantly outraged? Probably not, right? So why would you allow that to come in? Now, I do think it's important to be informed and know what's going on in the world, but just make sure that this isn't the, routine and the norm. For me, if I want to be a good strongman, I want to be somebody that's at peace with the world, I'm going to have to make choices to take in media that's going to get me in that mindset. So even when I don't really want to, it feels good to like get that boost, that dopamine rush from the news and stuff sometimes, but I will improve as a person to make the right choice and listen to either music, watch the right movies, or listen to the right media that's going to get me thinking about the things I want. It's going to get me curious about the world and just get me happier in general. So this is, also what visuals and posters are about. Whether it's your workspace, your gym, or just the things that are like on the background of your phone, what sort of signals are you constantly pumping in to yourself to basically brainwash you, right? If it's, for me, I have posters of Bill Kazmaier and Pujanowski and all the things I want. Like I have my medals. I want to put myself in this environment where I'm seeing successful people and successful things to raise the standard of what I have. This is why a lot of gyms have pictures and posters of, successful power lifters, bodybuilders, strongmen, not just ones that have come around to like work out there, but just in general. It's because it's setting this standard of excellence. So you're used to looking at the product of hard work to keep you motivated and inspired. So just think about if there's posters here or there, something you're seeing over and over and over and over again, what is that sending to your brain, right? As I keep saying, this is all about these things that you're consciously choosing, but also subconsciously picking up on day in, day out. So it's even good to check in every once in a while. Things like the background of your phone. I change mine every couple of weeks, once a month, but it's some sort of positive message to inspire me to get to work, right? Very simple. All right, so all this stuff we talked about is all really, really changed by our lifestyle and our mindset. So with our lifestyle, it can make you sad, lethargic, lazy, this and that, and you might not even really know it. So if you're somebody who's got like poor nutrition, poor hydration, your sleep practices are bad, you've got low energy, you're going to have a hard time recognizing all of these things for what they are. So really a lot of this starts with how are you taking care of yourself? People say it in terms of like, are you in survival mode or are you in creation mode? We want to make sure that we're not just dragging along because we're, have poor fuel, poor hydration, and poor energy levels that allow us to not see, that prevent us from seeing anything that's going on. When you can take care of yourself, you can see all of these signals a lot better. You're going to feel better in your body with the right food and the right fuel. You're going to allow yourself to recover and perform better. And it just creates this snowball effect where things just build, 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 build. And you can start to recognize, oh, this is something that irritates me here. Oh, this is something that is not conducive to my success over here. So if you're ever in a bad mood or this or that, it's always a good place to check in first is, somewhere in your lifestyle, right? Sometimes I get grumpy at the end of my workouts. More often than not, it's just about, I might be hungry. It could be as simple as that. Or maybe I'm dehydrated. Like I said, it's the middle of Florida summer. So maybe I just need to eat or drink a little bit more. A lot of these things can change completely just depending on how you frame them, how you view them, right? But we cannot really have a clear state of mind if we're tired, not eating enough, not fueled enough, and not sleeping enough. So check in with those elements to make sure that that's not what it is, because it can be as simple as having a snack, drinking some water, and then you can turn your attitude around from this to this, right? Now, when we are feeling good though, when we are fueled, hydrated, rested, and recovered, we have to use our mindset to get the most out of these things. Like I talked about with all of these, something like hot or cold can be amazing for you, or you can dread it, That's that. So make the choice all the time about what are you going to do about this? If it's something like really, really terrible in your mind, I don't like the cold. I'm very grateful that I moved away from Chicago to get into the Florida summer. So make those choices to get out of it if you need to. You always have a choice. Maybe right now you're not ready to make that decision, but you can start to lay the steps down to figure out which way you need to go. So it really is important to know what your dream is, what you want out of your life, to make sure that you're in these arenas and in these environments that are going to support you for where you want to go. If you know with certainty what your ultimate dream lifestyle is, what your goals are, you're going to have a much easier time focusing and framing things to go the way you want to go. So really think about sharply, like, what is it that you want? If you don't know that, this is what we're talking about with being in survival mode. Like, a lot of this stuff is just going to subconsciously affect you most of the time for negative, and you don't even realize it. Once you start to zone in on what it is that you want to get done, you can follow your dream. You can make the choices that you need to do and get that life and those goals that you want. So this is really a good kind of overview on the environment, but to really wrap it all up, you have to remember that you always have a choice, and you can always frame these things to make them positive or negative. Sometimes you're going to have to make some real hard choices about what you need to do about things. Give the example of like the family or those people around you. If they're not conducive to your success and that part is not going to change, maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to find new friends. But this is only possible if you know with certainty what it is that you want, what your dream is. Okay, so that is the environment. Always try to be aware of all those factors and get them to be in your favor. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and have a championship day.